Select meeting on Monday, June 13, 2016 at 6:32 session. Please all rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we going to have a moment of silence for the people?
I was just going to bring this up. Due to the horrific actions in Orlando, Florida, I'd like to take a quick moment of silence, please. Thank you all. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, my fellow Board of Selectmen members. I'm kind of a little bit of a quandrum tonight, so I want to let you guys know right now. My son is graduating from the 8th grade tonight at 7 o'clock, so about 10 minutes to 7, I'll be excusing myself, and the co-chair, Diane Hill-Brooks, will be taking over. It's very important to me to graduate, so I hope the people of Templeton understand. Thank you. Well,
okay. Just to inform everyone that the town clerk has invited General Code to a meeting here on June the 28th at 10 a.m. General Code is a company that does codification of bylaws. They are from Rochester, New York. They probably have 2/3, if not 3/4, of the business of this type in the country. And obviously they work for a fee, but they do an excellent job of codifying the bylaws, updating the bylaws, getting rid of conflicts. And it's something that can be done locally, but she would like to hear from General Code, and she came in to inform me that she's invited them to be here at 10 o'clock on June the 28th. For any who are interested. I was informed by our town accountant that fiscal 2013 financial records are now complete. And although the auditors have been doing work on auditing fiscal 2013 at their office, they are now at the phase of so-called field work. That means they'll be coming to Town Hall and auditing the records for fiscal 2013, which began July 1st, 2012. I'm also certainly encouraged that we have one more week of work by the Abrahams Group to put 2014 in complete order for auditing, so that 2 years are going to be available for auditing very soon. While we do not have complete agreement on what the number is, I need to reveal to the board that the trial balance for fiscal 2013 shows a very large deficit, eye-popping deficit. We'll have a number on that. We have a number, but before it's released, our accountant wants to confer with Marilyn Mayhew, who does work for the town through the Abrahams Group, just to make sure that that number is agreeable and correct. What it means is that this is ultimately confirmed by our auditor. It means that free cash certification will be very significantly reduced when we finally get that accomplished, which I would hope would be sometime this fall. Any kind of deficits from prior years And remember, we don't have a deficit from 2014 because that deficit was eliminated by the cuts at the end of the year. So that 505,000 was eliminated. But any kind of prior year deficits will be deducted from any free cash certification. So that's not encouraging. Schedule A has been submitted to and accepted at the DOR, and we have received our unrestricted general government payment from the Department of Revenue. We're also going to ask the Selectmen to sign a transfer request to the Advisory Board, since we can use the end of the year process. The board has indicated they would like to use available funds in the Selectmen's budget to cover the cost of the Kevlar vests for the police department of roughly $7,000, as well as the need for the Scott air packs for the fire department, or the air packs, I should say, not necessarily Scott.
Not the brand name.
It's brand name. I did get an estimate of the cost, a good estimate of the cost, from the acting chief of the cost of that. It's going to be $19,000 and change, nearly $20,000. As you recall, we originally wanted to take surplus and available funds and transfer them into the Selectmen's budget for purposes like this at the end of the year. At the town meeting, 11,000 of the 27,000 was instead transferred into the accountant's budget in case it would be needed for auditing. It is not needed for auditing, and so we would like to request that that 11,000 be transferred back to the Selectmen's budget, where it then can be used. The auditor obviously can't pay for Kevlar, but the Selectmen can. So we want to get that 11,000, move it back in, make the total there 27,000, so that those two purchases that the Selectmen have authorized can be accomplished out of the general fund budget for the fiscal 16.
I do have a question on the air packs, if I can.
Yes.
For 19,000, how many air packs does that replace? I mean, I don't know that we want to replace them all because we still have.
It doesn't replace,
Yeah.
no.
The chief did talk to me about that too, Doug. He, we're 2 years behind.
Yeah.
This will bring us almost up to date.
So
the
this
2
would be
years
like a
behind.
third of them.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So if someone
Which is a
could make a
great-
motion,
You
that's,
did a great job.
that would be, in order to use this end-of-year process, we have to have a motion of support by the Board of Selectmen, and it has to be given to the Advisory Board to transfer.
Okay.
Thought there
To
was
approve, I
a
should say.
cap on a dollar amount.
The dollar amount of transfer?
There's not?
What's that?
I thought there was a cap on a dollar amount that you could do that.
There's a cap that is relative to the budget itself of the department.
5,000.
Yeah. And, well, are we gonna have a problem with that? The cap is a percent of the budget, or, yeah, maybe it is 5,000. I have to go back and have a look at that. I thought that the DOR had lifted that cap, but.
You might be right, Bob. I would have to look at that myself. Obviously, this transfer is going back into,
It'd go back into the Selectmen's budget
to help with the air packs for the fire
in order to
department.
pay for the air packs. Yeah.
Okay. I would have to,
If we can't transfer it all, we'll transfer as much as we can.
So I thought we did transfer though the full 27,000 to the selectmen's budget.
No.
No.
At the town meeting, that was on the transfer list, but there was a motion from the advisory board to move 11,000 over to the accountant to cover the cost, potential cost,
The audit.
additional cost of audits. And I think we had a discussion of that,
okay.
but that's how it came out.
Can you see anything on that?
No, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we could make a motion contingent upon verification that
As much of that as we
11,000
can.
doesn't exceed,
Mhm.
you know,
The legal amount by
the
Mass
legal
General Law.
amounts, yeah.
Can you make a motion to?
Sure. I would make a motion that we transfer the 11,000 from the accountant to the selectman's office expense, provided the 11,000 does not exceed the legal limit of year-end transfers.
I'll second that.
Okay, so more discussion.
Motion and a second, I have discussion?
So I thought we had done this already through stabilization, through the stabilization account. We had
No.
already made a vote at a different meeting. Am I missing something?
No, you sure did. No, I can bring you up to speed. There was a motion that was made, and you guys voted on stabilization fund utilization for the police department and fire department safety. That was, the warrant article was missed during the open town meeting, so that funds were not transferred. I did meet with the police chief, and he's got guys out there with 15-year-old vests, which is unsafe, and we have fire department guys out there that, you know, that potentially are at risk when they're fighting fires. So I thought, you know, we need to bring this to light and to the table for discussion and to make decisions based on the safety and well-being of our providers out there. So that's where we are now. Now, the 11,000,
If we have a cap on that,
yep,
I think we do.
I think we
There are
do
other
too,
funds available in other departments that we can move also.
right, because I think if it's
Maybe
under.
at the 27th meeting, we can move more.
Okay, all right. I got a motion and I have a second. Do I have any other discussion?
Well, if we're going to move from others, perhaps we should not do this then and wait until we know what the full ramifications of transfers, because if we can't transfer it all, it's not like we're gonna order them this week, so if we have to wait until we know what all the transfers are to equal what we need, that would probably be better.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you agree,
I agree.
John?
Motion, what was the motion?
It was for the air packs, for the money to be moved to 11,000, but Doug brought up a great point. If other money is gonna be utilized from other locations for end of year transfers that we have the right to do without, obviously, a town meeting, we can wait.
Okay.
All right, is that,
There's 5 copies of a contract proposal for the police chief. And to make it understandable, I have outlined in red
thanks, Doug.
any changes to the existing contract. Not asking you to vote that tonight, but you can have a look at it. We can discuss it on the 27th, and you can decide or make any changes that you like.
Now, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to hold off on this, just,
There's one significant change here. We had discussed a 5-year contract with the chief. And in exchange for that, I was going to take the for cause clause out of the contract.
right,
Now, I was informed that you can do 5-year contracts without going to the town meeting. I checked into that, and you cannot. And just to verify that you cannot, I called town council, who confirmed that there's no authority to do a 5-year contract with any municipal employee without going to town meeting. So that's been adjusted back to a 3-year contract.
and the for cause is still in there.
I haven't changed that.
I see.
That's still some discussion going on with that.
All right. We can,
Next item, the Tucker Building, the tree issue. We made a call to the Housing Authority. They're aware of this tree growing out of the chimney. Problem is, it can only be removed by going to the top of the chimney. In order to do that, you need a lift, bucket lift. And the lift that's owned by the or by the Highway Department doesn't go high enough. They checked and found that in order to rent equipment that could do that, cost $800. They then suggested that we take that out of the Selectmen's budget. And we not only said no, but we're not even sure. I don't think that's legal. because they are, while they're part of the town, they're not part of the town government, and we cannot pay expenses like that from our budget for an outside organization, extraneous organization. So we're kind of stymied right there at that point, so I wanted to bring the board up to date on that.
So how does that differ from buying the vests and the air packs out of the selectmen's budget?
The building
Why
belongs to the
is
state.
Because
renting
the
a truck
police-
for the DPW different?
We can buy from the selectmen's budget and pay for expenses in any department that is subordinate to the Board of Selectmen. And the police and fire departments are subordinate to the Board of Selectmen. The Housing Authority is not. And just like Light and Water is not subordinate to the Board of Selectmen.
But if the highway department is the department that would be doing the work,
No,
No, they,
they're,
they
oh,
can't.
it would not.
according to the highway, according to the Housing Authority, the equipment that the highway department has will not reach that high.
So then the
So
housing
they have
authority
to
doesn't.
rent.
So the housing authority doesn't want the highway department to take care of the tree?
Well, they want it, but the highway department equipment can't reach high enough.
Mhm.
And so they'd have to rent from a private contractor, and the estimate that they got was $800.
So the highway department couldn't do the rent, which is a subordinate department? They couldn't rent that piece of equipment to use?
I suppose they could.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have to make sure that having the highway department do that work is also acceptable. The statute prohibits the highway department from doing work on private property.
Right.
This is not private.
It's
Not
So-
quite the town either.
it's state.
Yeah, but again, I mean, if the highway had a truck that could reach, we wouldn't be having the discussion, we would have just told the highway to go and do it.
Go and do it, yes.
So if the highway rents a truck that can do it and they do the work, I don't see how that's any different, other than there's an additional expense of renting this truck. If renting the truck makes it prohibitive for them to take out the tree for the housing authority, then it would be prohibitive even if they had a truck that would reach.
I agree. I think telling the highway department, let's assume the highway department has a vehicle that could do it, or a truck that could do it, telling them to go do it is legally questionable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if they do damage to the structure of the building,
Mhm.
then the town becomes liable, because it's a state sanctioned.
The larger that tree goes, the more damage that's going to be done, and those are
Absolutely.
our residents that are living there.
Oh, absolutely.
So how is going to resolve the issue, because we've been talking about this for too long?
Well, I think, obviously I want to talk more about the CPC, because it's a historic building, maybe they have funds available, if we can do maybe potentially down the road, if there's another, town meeting, special town meeting, that there might be a warrant in there specifically concerning, removal of that tree, utilizing CPC funds versus town funds. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
It's still maintenance of a building that we don't own, so why is the state pushing this off on us?
'Cause it's
But
the-
yet again, our residents are living there, and if all the roots burst, down come all the brick, and then who's liable for that? They're still our residents.
The Housing Authority
Housing authority would be responsible.
is a legally
So
independent
sending a letter
entity.
to someone above the housing authority, is that appropriate?
I'm not sure
That
any,
we've tried to,
they are a legally independent entity, governed by a board.
Right.
Going above
We can
means
send them a letter,
go to
absolutely, we
the
can
left.
send
can
them
we
a
send a
letter.
letter to
Sure.
our senator
To the board.
and representative?
Yeah, we can. I mean, I would do it all three. I would send it to the board of, their board specifically, and we'll send it to the state
I make
representative.
a motion that we send a letter to the Senator Goby, Representative
Whipsley.
Whipsley, and to the Housing Authority Board.
The housing authority board isn't governed by any state
No.
agency?
They are subordinate to the state. But I was just going to say, their revenue comes from whatever revenue they generate, plus some state and federal funds. We don't review their budget.
Right.
And they don't get any local tax dollars.
Right,
So they,
they're independent.
in fact, I haven't seen their budget, so I don't know if they could afford to do it or not. So
All right, so I have a
I guess
motion.
we have to, I just wanted to give you an update. We have to continue trying to figure out a way.
Okay. Well, I think the letter's a good start. So there's a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion concerning a letter going to the state representative concerning the tree and the,
Oh, can I just make a small amendment that that letter be
Sure.
signed by the chairman of the board? And that doesn't have to be signed by all of us, is that acceptable, or the town administrator? One? Probably by the
better.
chairman of the board would be better.
And can I ask, what is that letter gonna entail?
What
is it gonna say?
That tree needs to be removed. It is a nuisance and it's a hazard to
Potential
the people
hazard.
who are living there and anyone who's walking around there.
okay,
It's
it's
been there for
damaging the
two,
building.
it's a liability.
okay, I got you.
And like what, we've tried to get this rectified and nobody wants to figure out
We don't have the resources.
how to problem solve
We don't
it.
have the resources to
So.
do that. Okay,
So I just,
Sounds fair enough.
instead of all of us having to come in, can it just be signed by the chairman of the board?
I'm okay with that.
Are you
You okay with that, John?
Okay.
John, you okay with that? Me signing the letter?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yep.
John?
Yes.
Julie?
Abstain.
Fair enough, and I vote yes.
Okay. I have requests from 3 town employees to carry forward vacation time into fiscal 17 under our existing personnel policies. Board of Selectmen has to vote on that. Kelly Pomprion, 50 hours.
Whoa.
Kate Myers, 10 hours. Holly Young, 34 hours.
Who did we just do that for? We don't, who did we just vote to do that for on the last meeting that I was here?
Diana Morrison and
And-
Sue, her
That was in our
second in
minutes.
command there.
Okay.
And that obviously, they had obviously legitimate reasons based on the policy and the guidelines. And
Okay.
what was the reasons? Do you have the reasons, Bob? Of-
Just
I know Kelly's. I
Yeah,
mean, Kelly's
Kelly
is,
just hasn't,
that's without saying.
had a chance to, and Kate is only asking for 10 hours.
Okay.
And Holly
And I understand
is
Holly's-
asking for 34.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to allow a rollover of 34 hours for Kelly Pomprian, 10 hours for Kate Myers, and 34 hours for Holly Young to be used by September 30th, 2016. Is that the year we're in? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yours was 50
I'm
hours.
sorry, 50,
Oh, it's just
sorry,
50.
sorry.
I got you. I knew what
50,
you meant.
10, and 30.
Yep.
34.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Yes, sir.
I also have some members of Local 39 that wish to roll some time over. I believe it's in our contract, although we don't have a signed contract for July 1st. I'm just curious if we're gonna be allowed to do the same as far as 5 days, being able to be rolled over.
All right, just,
We have to discuss that after we vote
yeah,
on
we'll
this.
we'll discuss it after, if that's okay. Any other discussion? Thanks for bringing that up, Dave, I appreciate it. No? Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
I'll abstain.
John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Again, happy employees are good employees.
Can we make a
Can I,
note about what Dave Smart said for there, because we're not done with their contract? How many people, Dave? I'm just curious.
I know of 3, possibly 4.
And the reasoning?
Well, they just have so much time, like Marty gets his anniversary date, I think it's this month, so he can't possibly use all this time up by the end of the year, so he needs a week. And John, one of the guys at the sewer plant, he's got a lot of time too, and hasn't used it, and wishes to.
Just make a note of that. I'm just.
I do believe it's in our contract to roll 5 days over. I'm just curious whether or not
Is that in this contract?
that will be in the next one. So if it is, then.
It's in the contract that hasn't been affected by the proposed new contract where we are down to 1 item. And I worked on it today. I've been trading emails back and forth with the representative. union representative, regional representative on this item. And I would anticipate giving you what I've given you for the chief of police. I'm hoping we can resolve this tomorrow.
Great.
And you can have till the 27th to ponder the contract and
Great.
decide whether you're going to sign it.
That'd be awesome. Can you send it out via your email, Bob, to all of us? Can you send it out via your email?
Yeah.
And I don't want to interrupt you, but can I do my veterans thing real quick, because I have to get going.
And lastly, well, not lastly, you should have in your packet a proposal for the use of building maintenance funds for fiscal 2017. What do we have?
No.
What are we doing?
It's on the back page, I think.
On the back.
Nothing I printed. I printed all my own stuff.
Did you pick up your packet in the office? Did you get your packet from over there?
No, why would I need to do that if I got everything via email? I printed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, anyway, I'll look at yours. I'm sorry, can we, John, I'll move up your, please, give us an update.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Obviously, so this year has been a great year for veteran services. We've actually accomplished a lot. As far as Chapter 115 goes, we spent a total right now of $136,510. We're managing quite well of where we are and how we're assisting veterans out there every day. As far as I calculate all my visits, contacts, and everything else, you can pass that around so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I calculate all my visits, all my contacts, everything that I'm doing, which totaling at the other end, you can see that. So you can actually see what Veteran Service is doing each month. It's broken down by month, and between phone visits, home visits, using the computer and other resources, and social media. Channel 8, we brought in Friends of Templeton Veterans, which is a great nonprofit group here in town that produced challenge coins, which we are the first town to have challenge coins, which is a great feat for us. We also produced T-shirts that we're doing fundraising sales with. It says Templeton Veterans, it's black, it's really nice. It says Operation Veterans on the back. They're very, very well done T-shirts, thanks to John Sports Shop. The board is doing very well as far as mentoring and letting me know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. The Department of Veteran Services in Boston is very, very pleased of what's going on here in Templeton as far as the funding, because that's where they really see how things are going, is by funding. And obviously, 2 years ago, I think we spent about $30,000. Me being here for the second year, we spent $136,000. So you can see the benefit that's coming forth with having your own veterans agent here in town to assist veterans here in the community where the rubber meets the road. On the back pages, because again, being in the service, we like to do scales so they can see the different scales and stuff. So that tells exactly where Chapter 115 is. Obviously, as you see in December is the highest month, because that's the month that most veterans during the holidays are having the toughest time, with presents and, kids and et cetera, and the utilization of other resources such as Council on Aging, American Legion, VFW and Gardner, Riders out of, Chapter 6 out of Gardner. We utilize every resource that we have around us to benefit our veterans here in town. You can go back, and as far as the phone references, we just do different graphs just so people get a visual impairment of how we do business and how we're getting through to our outreach to our veterans here in the community. Unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Can I,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I don't have too much time, so I'm gonna be brief as far as, we talked about briefly last week. Doug brought up about the potential structure that's gonna be presented, the wall that I'm hoping Bob will talk more about after I'm done. I've been having some some minor issues with the space I'm in, nothing huge, I mean, nothing I can't overcome. I've been there for a year and a half. I mean, I've been dealing with it. But I have some veterans that are having some issues. Wheelchairs can't fit through there. Some of the walkers are having some issues, they have to go sideways. It's not a big issue, that's why I haven't ever brought it up to the Board of Selectmen, that's why I really haven't brought it up until now. When we first moved into this building, there was some talk of, keeping veteran services at the Council on Aging, moving it to Bridge Street, or potentially putting an office next to the town administrator's office with access by the hallway outside here. And then we decided to put me in the little baby office, which again, we accommodated us quite well, but we're growing. The Veteran Services Office is growing. More records, more files, more veterans are coming in, more geriatric veterans that are having, handicapped issues. So obviously, again, I'm pushing the issue for the office, with the utilization of the MI funds. I'm gonna pay for the all out of my funds. I presented that to the Board I'm gonna present it to the Board of Selectmen now. I've already presented it to Mr. Marco, that whatever funds that I have left for my pay, I will put towards the wall to benefit not only the building, but to benefit veteran services. That way taxpayers not gonna be bothered by this, by any type of mishandle of any type of funding. And I hope that the Board of Selectmen can see, the need for the different space. Now, whatever that office space is then utilized for, quite frankly, I don't care. All I care about is the utilization of space that's bigger, more square footage, 39-inch doorway openings for veterans to get through, versus a 21-inch door that I'm in right now. So I hope, this is just a briefing, so I just hope you can take this with you, and hopefully understand the importance of doing this. Any questions?
Not a question, just a quick note.
Sure.
You may want to contact the State Veterans Office
I already did.
about the website.
Oh, our website?
The MassGov/Veterans website still has
I know.
a veterans agent out of Athol.
Yes.
And it's been 2 years. I don't know who's responsible for it.
Evan
They're slow to
McCrappel.
develop.
Evan McCrappel
If
is.
somebody wanted to, contact stuff, you'll go on that website and it shows Athol.
You're absolutely right.
Rather than here.
I put that in writing at least twice. I've talked to Evan, I can't tell you how many times. I've talked to Mr. McGurk, because obviously he, again, is still getting phone calls for veterans here in Templeton. And Neil's been really good. He's been rerouting them right back to me, because that's what the law tells me he has to do anyways. But that has been approached. I will do that first thing Thursday morning again. I'll send you a message once I do it, okay? Yes, sir.
I highly recommend everybody buy the coins, and how much are the t-shirts?
The t-shirts are $25. I have them from youth sizes, small, medium, and large youth, all the way up to double X. Again, these were all purchased by donations of Friends of Templeton veterans. And all the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds go back to the veterans. What does that do? That does 100% guaranteed services on the spot, meaning that you don't have to wait months to get a benefit. You can actually get a benefit as soon as you walk out of my office the same day. Because it works, it's kind of like what Boston does. So if a veteran has issues needs someplace to stay, we can use that funding to get him a hotel room. And then we'll get reimbursed by Boston. I don't have to wait, months. Veteran comes in that needs food. I'm not going to direct them to the food pantry. I'll give them $100. Go buy food, or a gift card to Stop and Shop to go buy food. If somebody needs, a car repair, that's an emergency car repair need, we have that resources to help right away, and then we'll get reimbursed by the state later. So it works out pretty well. It's a great benefit. It's a great program. Boston's been doing it for a while. I don't know how they do their funding, but I know this has been very, there's definitely a fine line how I operate, how the Friends of Templeton Veterans has to operate as a nonprofit group, and how that money goes and transfers. But it's been working out quite well. Any other questions? No, thanks. Thanks so much. I do apologize. I gotta skedaddle. I gotta.
My graduation.
I will. Thank you, Sahan. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
I just have this, other than this proposal for spending on this building, that is also in the packet. I have one more item, and that is, I've been in touch with 3 search firms in Massachusetts that will assist the town in recruiting a permanent town administrator. I've told them that the board would like to meet with them on the 21st of July, I believe. And 2 of the 3 are going to submit proposals. Mark Morris of the Mass Municipal Association told me today that he is not interested, that it's a very busy time, and he has more business than he can possibly handle. You can believe that. But Tom Grew, Groux, is a private consultant who does this kind of work exclusively for the public sector. He's based in Chatham on the Cape, and he will be submitting a proposal in addition to the Collins Center at UMass Boston. So you get to interview both of them together with, you have the written proposal from Collins. Grew is going to send something probably within the next week or 2. And that is all that I have.
What date did you say we're gonna meet with them?
That's a July, we decided last time, I believe, July 21st.
I will be on vacation. FYI, no big deal.
So that concludes.
Okay. So, did everyone get this, the town building projects?
It's the very last page on your packets.
Okay, well, I wasn't here for the last week. I wasn't feeling well. And so I wasn't really here for the discussion about the wall or office and I did have a brief discussion with John because I had some other questions for him. I don't feel like that is gonna be private enough, and it's just gonna make it really busy here. And maybe having more privacy, and there's more access at the COA building, wider doors. It's already, one level, and if he's growing, then I don't know if there's space there, but it would be a lot easier, in my opinion, to get in and out of there rather than building. I mean, it's not very private here. The walls are paper thin to begin with, but I don't know, I'd rather, I don't know. I didn't realize that having handicap access was a problem until today. I hadn't really heard that, so.
Yeah, and again, the point I made last week was that this room is empty 90% of the day. John has a laptop. I mean, he said what he does is on the computer when he does all the Chapter 115. It's on the computer. He's got a laptop. He can come in here. People can get through the doors. So I think rushing to build an office in there is not the right thing to do. We're not looking at any future potential. I mean, I think if we're going to build an office, we should be building an office for the HR position. Because all of the benefit coordination that the treasurer is doing now, I don't think should be done either. It should be done by the HR person. Now, whether the person we have in that position now is the right person or not, I don't know. I've never seen her resume. But whether it's her or it's somebody else that we hire that's already got HR experience or HR certification, they probably need more of a private office than I think we need for the veterans, because they have a private office. They could come in here with their laptop if necessary.
Again, I wasn't here, so I don't know what else you all had talked about. Julie, John?
Well, I'd be reticent to approve anything at the COA without hearing John's
Right.
input first.
Right.
And I think the point too that he made is, it's not so much just a privacy issue, but the more people you get, the more files you have, and he's in a really confined area now.
Well, I just don't think this is gonna be any
Well,
bigger
That's,
at all.
all
I
right,
think it's just a
but-
Band-Aid.
but I think still, we have to come to some type of understanding in terms of what his needs for space is going to be.
Yeah, I just don't think.
See, and that's the
It's not
exact
just
thing.
it's not just the confidentiality issue, I think
Yeah.
it's the space issues, the file storage, because you get more and more people, those records are just gonna keep piling up.
Right.
And we're gonna have to find an answer to that question, whether we do anything else or not, is where we're gonna store those files,
Right.
which have to be stored in a secure place.
My only question here is that if you look at the projects that were already done in fiscal 16, none of them came in front of the selectmen that I can recall. They just got done because they were on a list of things to do, so I'm not sure why the whole, build a wall and create another office came to us. That was my only question I had.
All of
Like,
these,
I'm not sure
we
why.
knew about all these.
I mean, they're on
We
a
knew about all
list,
of this.
everything's on a
Windows,
list.
we knew about all of it. And we discussed it at different meetings.
Right, but never like voted on or anything. I mean, it was
We
just,
voted.
Yeah,
it
we-
was just part
We
of your
voted-
yearly.
We voted.
We've talked to, yeah, it's part of our goals is to continue work on town hall, installation, carpeting, technology. So it's all things that are definitely have been talked, the windows were the last thing that we voted on.
Right.
And those were done. So, I mean, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on something. Building an office and, installing a few outlets, that's completely different. And the building is for, the town. So, I mean, we're gonna have heating costs and the cupola needs to be done and more windows need to be finished. And again, if he needs, it's not just privacy, it's more office space and bigger, wider doors, and that's not gonna accomplish all that.
The background on this, as I mentioned last time, since the offices were moved to this building, the Veteran Services agent, the treasurer collector, and the HR assistant have been saying that they need space to have confidential meetings. Treasurer said, I'm trying to have a confidential discussion with an employee or a retiree about personal matters, and we have people coming up to the counter, paying taxes and so forth. The same was true with HR, that, in and out of the office, people are constantly moving in and out, and she's trying to have confidential discussions. And obviously, you heard from John. This, frankly, was not a priority for me. And I said, well, if we get towards the end of the fiscal year, I understand the need. I made the same argument, why can't you do it in here? This room is empty most of the time. But if we have some money left over at the end of the fiscal year, we'll talk again. So that's how it kind of happened. Then, in the last few weeks, the proposal got modified. It was not going to be a room where 3 of our employees could conduct private discussions with citizens, but rather it was going to be an office for Veterans Affairs. That kind of just happened, and that's kind of how we got here. It kind of evolved into where we are at this point. I don't think we have ever really discussed openly what's the role of selectmen, what's the role of the town administrator in projects here. Things have just happened. I've kept you informed. In some cases, you voted. But we haven't had any orderly process. This is an orderly process. This is a proposal for the use of those funds. And a lot of the things we've done here were sort of known when we moved here. This is what we have to do. We all seem to agree. We had windows that are in poor condition, and We have a 2-year program to replace those. The carpeting was a mess, and we have a project to gradually replace that, and so forth. Some of these things just happened suddenly, and we're done. Others, I think you were aware of. In some cases, you voted, but no systematic plan. Here's a plan.
So we're looking for a vote on that plan.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, other than for me just to plunge ahead and then have some questions raised after the fact, we ought to have an agreement from the selectmen on what you want done with the monies that we have.
We definitely need a vote on that project and on the entranceway, because they're both scheduled for Monday. If they're not gonna happen, I need to cancel those right away.
So, if I can comment again. Again, I think building an office, an additional office in there is the wrong thing to do. Whether we pay for it out of the selectmen's budget or we pay for it out of John's budget, doesn't matter. Everybody's budget comes from the taxpayers. So, again, it's a waste of money, in my opinion, because like Diane said, it's a Band-Aid. It's not a long-term fix. And I would hazard a guess that if we took a tape measure and measured that space and that space, he may end up with less square footage down here than he's got now. It's configured differently, yes, but it's going to be less square footage. And again, until we can say why this room won't work, I mean, he's got a laptop. If we need to put a laptop or a regular computer in here, if we need to put a phone in here, then we can make whatever accommodations we need to. This room should be being utilized, not building new rooms. And just because we have money left at the end of the year doesn't mean we need to build anything. I mean, why are we continually encouraging this end-of-year spend-down? I mean,
I'm not
what's wrong
encouraging
with letting the
end-of-year
money?
spend down at all. This is one, and I would say, unique example of that. There's no other agenda to spend down money at the end of the year for any other purpose.
Yeah. So, I'm against it. This room is available, this room can be utilized. That's what should be done.
Any other thoughts? Well,
You'll have right now a standing committee that's looking at another building for use. Wouldn't it be prudent that they could end up looking at that building as a possibility for the veterans agent?
Can I speak to that?
That's much larger. I don't know if you've discussed it in the reuse thing, but that building there is, to me, would be an excellent place to do something like the Montechusett. Is you could end up having the veterans agent there. You could end up having, well, like they've done, pictures of the veterans. There's a lot of potential in that building for use for the veterans as well as other organizations.
Can I speak to that, Diane?
So, I mean, you need to take and put an overall plan in place, and I have to agree with Selectman Morrison. You don't want to do Band-Aids. You need a long-range plan. You need to take an address on this particular issue. As far as the building, that's a different thing that you need to take and end up maintaining the buildings that you have. That's priority number one, is to take and end up maintaining the building that you're in. As far as this, and I talk as a citizen here. Like I ended up having to take care of my house. This is the town's house. And it's really important to take care of things like that. And it should be done orderly. I think having a list as such that we have here is the right way to go. It's open, it's transparent, you're talking about it, you talk about the costs, so everybody knows how their money is being spent on their building. That's important to the voters of this community. Actually get a little credibility also at the same process.
Can I speak to that? Sure. I think you're referring to Scout Hall.
Yes.
It was discussed, actually, 3 months in a row, at our public meetings, that everyone is welcome to attend those. But he is on that committee, Mr. Kaplis. We did discuss the possibility of Scout Hall when it gets renovated, if the voters chose to vote in the money, which they did. However, he feels like he needs to be in a stream of other employees of the town. He felt like wasn't comfortable being alone in a building whenever he has different things going on. He felt like he needed to utilize certain people in the town for certain information in regards to his veterans. That was number one. Number two is, we did a breakdown of cost. We would have to ask the taxpayers to pay so much money per month to maintain that building for that individual's amount of hours that that building had to be open. So we didn't know that that was a really good decision financially to do that. It's gonna cost less to maintain the building without having offices in there.
Well, you have another building that's being utilized by
Sure.
another agency, and there's a cost involved in that, and I don't see us pulling out of that building. It's right in Baldwinsville. We all know what
I mean,
that-
I'm not sure about that
Yeah.
building, I don't have that,
look at it
information
that
on that. I do know that we did explore the possibility of veterans going to Scout Hall. We did choose to, we can look at that again, I'm sure it's not a problem to review it again at our next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
I can put it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
I think that would be prudent
Sure.
to take a second look at that.
Sure.
I'm talking about not only that building, all our buildings in the community. We have never done a good job as a community looking at all our buildings and how we utilize them.
But we don't want to go to the past, now we're going forward, and right now
No,
we're
but I'm
trying to
saying-
utilize one of those
That's what I'm
buildings. So
saying.
maybe
I
next
said
year
we've
it'll be
never done
another
it in the
building.
past. It's something that we need to do here in the future.
Absolutely
It's
agree with
caused
you.
us problems in the past, we don't wanna take and replay those. That's where I'm
Agree with
coming
you
from.
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
Since you're the member of the committee, what are your plans for that building?
Our plans for that building, we have plans to utilize it as like a small community walk-in for children getting out of school, in the afternoons, a couple hours here and there. I mean, it's still in rough draft. And then overflow of meetings and that such. And all of that information is public you can just check our website for all
Well,
our
I don't have a
updates.
computer, my dear, because I can't afford
But I
one.
can give you copies
But
after
the
this
thing of it
meeting,
is,
because we just had
You're still
one.
gonna cost the town money
Right.
when we can take care of our children in rooms after school, because other school departments in other towns do that. They have a study time, a gathering time, whatever you wanna call it. We don't need a separate building to put our children in, when we have these nice buildings at school that can be done. So we're still gonna pay something for utilizing that building, and right at the moment, this man needs a place to go. And it may be able to put up a wall, and maybe he'll have company in another room. We can fix that up that way. Because that building did wonderfully for years and years and years with people there. And the confidentiality, you went in the bathroom, or and they had a small kitchen area where people went to talk.
Beautiful building, yeah.
Yeah, I went there, and I did veterans things there. I know what can be done there.
I welcome you to join our committee before June 30th.
Well, I
for
don't
fiscal
care.
2017.
You're still gonna, you're saying you want a
We're taking it
babysitting
all
place
kinds-
for a school.
No, I'm
for
not
a
saying
school
that.
kid. Yes, you are.
No, I think it's gonna be utilized for people that might wanna have a meeting here, like AA, or,
There's churches for that
sporting
in town
events
that
and
do
that.
that already, my dear.
I think that we're getting off topic, I'm
Yeah, I
sorry,
do.
so
No,
I
it
just
isn't the
wanna.
point.
Thank
They
you.
want
Pull
to
it
spend
back.
money when we don't need to spend money right now for something such as that.
These are
When we
grants.
have this beautiful historic building that could be used for office space, like we're doing at this time here.
That wasn't good enough for the senior center, that you want the veterans to move over there?
Was it big
I
enough?
can't hear you.
It wasn't good enough for the senior center, but you want the veterans to move over there?
Well, no, because apparently it grew, but you had the veterans there, you had a lot of people there, and still, we don't have enough space down at the senior center.
I think that the Scout Hall is still exploring
Yeah,
issues,
but
there's
I
nothing
just
set in
feel that we
stone, but
should
at the
utilize
moment, I
that
just
building
think that
for
we
the
need
people-
to figure
Not
out.
for gathering places and taking care of children, because we have places for already all that. And they can set up AA meetings in any church in this area.
Okay.
I know that.
So we just need to get back to what are we gonna do about the suggested year end or the suggested projects for FY17? I think that we
I
need
would
to have more
suggest we vote on
discussions
the door.
with,
At least get the door voted on for Monday, so she doesn't have to cancel the front,
The entrance
the entranceway.
over there,
Right, so I would make a motion that we
only that
move forward with repair of the rear door and cancel the,
remainder.
the construction of the office, the electrical, and the
Just
data.
the rest.
And I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? John? Any further discussion? Okay. Did you hear the motions?
Part of it.
Yeah, so the motion is to move forward with the back door repair and cancel the other project to build the office.
In what?
To cancel the project to build the
Oh, okay,
office.
all right.
So I have a first and a second? Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think if we vote it down, we still have to come to terms with how the space issues and the record storage that he has, and I haven't seen those adequately addressed yet.
I think we need a good plan and some kind of design and what all the needs are that need to be addressed. I know I have not seen or heard enough to even make a good decision. So, and I feel like it's a Band-Aid and I don't want something to be a Band-Aid. I mean, it's for everyone and for our town. So I would rather have it be a good space for veterans and whomever, rather than just haphazardly doing something, so. Okay, so I'll put that to a vote. John?
Yes.
David has hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, David?
The back door issue, I'm not up to speed on it. Isn't that a brand new door we have in the back of the building? Yes.
It's to repair to replace the trim around it. They're gonna take off the wood trim that's kind of rotted and
Oh, okay, where
and
it
put
sits
new
there.
trim,
Oh,
and then put a panel above, so it looks like the windows
Mhm.
on the new windows back there. Just to make it look pretty, basically.
Okay. Is that all set? Okay, so John said yes. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay. So then, the next agenda item is the minutes from May 23rd, 2016. Has everyone had an opportunity to read those?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for May 23rd, 2016.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Give me just 1 second, please. I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Okay, John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, and annual appointments, I'm sorry, I have to find my stuff. So, we received a list, if I can find mine. Okay. So, did everybody receive the new list?
Yes.
Because I do have some questions. Did anyone else have any? So, Holly, is this you putting this
No.
list together, or is this,
This
okay?
is a list of it. She did tell me that see where there are spaces in the dates on the right-hand column?
Yeah,
Those spaces are either they didn't get back to her, or that committee has a person being voted on it that is also being voted from another committee. Does that make sense? Say
No.
the advisory board has to vote for Kate Fulton to be on capital improvement committee, and they
Okay.
haven't voted yet. I think they're waiting till the next meeting,
Okay,
till they
so-
reorganize or something.
for the elementary school building committee, the reason that Bill Claybaugh hasn't gotten back to her is because he's no longer with us.
That would be it.
So that's a little unnerving to me. Carrie Kojal, I see her all the time, so technically Bill Claybaugh should be Rick Moulton. And is the superintendent like an automatic, John? I just
Yes.
didn't bring my
The
notes. Okay.
Superintendent is.
And
Also, the buildings and grounds guy is.
he's automatic too, so we don't really have to appoint that person?
Um,
I need to make sure that
I would
we.
appoint him, but he, by law, has
He has
to
to
be
be
a
there.
member of the
Okay.
committee.
Well, it's, okay. The other things that I have, so basically, everybody that has a date, she actually spoke to.
They actually replied saying they do want to be on it.
Okay, and I didn't see anything on here for community preservation at all. Like, that got totally left off from the previous list?
I don't know.
Okay, and a communications commission, we still have one of those? I didn't even think that they ever really met.
We do.
We do. Do they meet?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
they haven't been abolished.
Okay.
They're going to be phasing out once
They're going to be phased out.
they each expire, I believe, or each decide to not do it anymore.
Well, couldn't we just make to dissolve the committee altogether, or no? If they're not going to meet, we don't even have to wait, we can just, I mean, I have an issue with that one. Economic development, I called Ken Robinson myself, he absolutely is not doing that. And I guess my other question was, Kathy Matson's name is spelt wrong. Why are we appointing the highway superintendent? Do we have to do
That's
that?
part of the appointments. That was what she was trying to bring up when she came a few meetings
Yeah,
ago. But
okay.
there was just a lot. There's a lot with appointments.
Okay.
But I know we're planning on having that all-committee meeting. It's gonna be September 20th. And I think John Columbus has suggested that we wait until after that to talk about dissolving committees, kind of see who's still involved, see
Okay.
who comes. But most of these really need to be appointed. If you wanna maybe take the ones out that they don't have dates and they haven't confirmed or haven't been voted.
Well, the problem is like appointing the committees and there's not even enough people, they don't even have a quorum to get together. Like capital improvements is only, that would leave Ray Ann and Charlie Carroll, and I don't see one Board of Selectmen name on any of these.
Capital improvement, there might be people that aren't reappointed this year. I'm not sure what the term is for those.
Yeah, they're one-year terms, and the committee is supposed to be made up of a select board member, a school committee member, a planning board member, a ZBA member,
Yeah,
and a member at large.
So, I can say that I'm not really comfortable with this still, but if we don't do the appointments, then, I mean, that leaves us in a lurch also.
Yeah, they expire the 30th.
Yep, but again, I feel like
She's also
this
emailed
is
them all
not
and told them
complete.
they can go get sworn in once it's approved.
Okay.
If you want to ask her to come to the next meeting, she's gonna have to figure out her hours or get some overtime approved.
Well, the other thing is I don't know, this is me personally, I don't know the rest of you, but how many people are supposed to be on that committee? And then, like I said, Agricultural Commission, it's just Matt Leclerc. And you're right, maybe that might be the only person who needs to be appointed, but I just feel like it's fine.
Yeah, I do think that the agricultural is, all of the people are 3 years, so they all get reappointed at the
Okay.
same time.
So,
I would make a suggestion that we table this till the 27th meeting, so that we can ask her to just update this, and then people that are actually gonna show interest and be on these committees, they still have a couple of days to come in and get sworn in. If they didn't get back, a lot of these people that haven't even gotten back to her,
But a lot of the people that
They've gotten a
started coming in
direct
to get
email.
appointed, to get sworn in after last time, and she had to go through an email, there's a lot of people to email in here, and let them know
Okay.
that hopefully they'll be appointed this time, so it's just gonna cause
well, I
more
usually make all the motions,
people
but
coming in.
we can,
I mean, I would suggest that, because we're gonna have this all-committee meeting, and after that all-committee meeting, we're going to take a deep look at what committees we should abolish. I would
there's a few.
I would
of them.
suggest that we just go ahead and appoint it for the people that have a date in this last column, not the people who don't have a date. And then when we do the all-committee meeting, we'll know what committees attend, what committees present that this is what we're doing, and the committees that don't attend, then I think we should meet and talk about abolishing them.
okay.
So that would be my suggestion.
If you're going to make the motion, can you please change William Claybaugh to
Yes.
Rick Moulton?
Yes.
And Kathy Matson, not Mason, under Emergency Planning Committee.
I'm not gonna have to read all these names that way.
Well. I don't know, should they be read into record?
I can actually copy and paste this in there.
No, I'm
Okay,
saying
I'll
like, should we be reading them all or just approving it as written? Because it's really, we do have to make a couple of changes.
I'll read the changes.
Okay, and then,
So, Kathy,
Who was instead of Phil Claiborne?
Rick,
Rick.
and it may be Richard, but Rick Moulton, Moulton. And, under emergency planning, it's Matson, Matson. And we are not appointing an insurance advisory committee? I'm asking that as a question.
No.
Are we or
No, we
are
don't.
we not?
No.
We
You
are
just
not.
have to appoint the retiree,
We have to appoint, and that would be whom?
Harry Aldrich.
Harry Alter.
And where is that on here?
It's on the
It's on-
second page. You probably have the original one. She ended up.
No,
adding
this
that
is the
on.
one that I got today.
It's on the top of the second page.
Nope. Oh, you have that? Okay, I don't, but,
Yeah,
okay. It's fine.
okay, so you must have, is that the one that was emailed to us
I don't
versus the one that's
know.
in the packet?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so, so it's not listed on there at all?
Well, maybe it's in your packet, but I printed out everything that I got
Yeah.
emailed.
Yeah, but I'm just curious as to why it wouldn't be on
I don't know.
the email one at all.
Hold on.
She just made that change today, I think. She emailed it to me before she left.
Okay. All right. I will make a motion that we appoint the people on the list that have a date in the far right-hand column, not appoint the people that don't have a date in that far right-hand column, and that we make the following changes. On the Elementary School Building Committee, change William Claybaugh to Rick Moulton. And on the Emergency Planning Committee, change Kathy Mason to Kathy Matson.
I have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. You have all that, Holly? So we have to, okay. Cemetery Department update. Alana?
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm not sure if Holly gave everybody a copy, so
Yeah, I did.
I made copies.
Thank you, sir.
I was asked to come in and give you an update on the cemetery department, and basically, what these are is just more informational for you.
So this part is in the packet. This is what you sent me. These 3 pages are in the packet. No. Oh, okay, he sent me this piece.
This piece. Yeah.
So the first document I gave you is an item that we have had on capital planning for several years now. And basically, it came up at a meeting several months ago. The town administrator, myself, the cemetery commission, and a member of the board of selectmen were at that meeting where the highway superintendent was talking about sand. And being able to utilize some of the cemetery property at Pine Grove Cemetery to mine gravel out of and create sand for your roads for the winter and save the town some money, as well as possibly some of that material could be worth some money under there. This proposal was actually a proposal to create a master plan for that cemetery. And basically the issue, the biggest issue down there at that cemetery is that the back property line drops off drastically. It's close to 100 feet straight down. The gravel bank operation in the back came right up to the town property line and just dropped straight off. So in order to get the cemetery to get down to a level that's manageable, we probably should do a master plan at some point. The problem with leaving it as it is right now, we're building the cemetery like the tabletop. You're building it straight out, and when you get to the end of your property line, it's just gonna drop off like the table drops to the floor. That's gonna create a lot of erosion issues. You're not gonna be able to use as much property for the town as you would like to, because you can't get that close to that drop off. There's a lot of issues with it. So, I brought this proposal ahead, probably 6 years ago, and at that time, the cost was relatively around $43,000. This last proposal, just in 2016, the cost is now up around $65,000. So the price doesn't really go down, it keeps going up. So I wanted to bring it in, let you look at it, get a chance to review it, and then if you have questions about why we need this kind of a master plan, or any questions about the proposal at some point. I think that there's a significant value in some of the resources on that property. And if we continue to expand that cemetery, we're just gonna bury on top of it. And the town really has some resources there that are gonna be good for the town. So I think it's worthwhile to look at it. Not necessarily we're going to agree to do it, but we at least should investigate and look at it. If anybody wants to see the property, I'm more than willing to walk the property with you, so I can show you physically what I'm talking about. It's pretty interesting to look at it, so something I thought you probably will be interested in looking at, and I think it will be a great value to the town, so.
Not to interrupt, but I'd like to just comment from the capital planning perspective on this. Alan, as he said when he first started, that they've brought this to capital planning for a number of years. And again, the town hasn't funded it. And it's gone from 40,000 to 65,000. Just by our inaction, it's gonna cost us more. And the plan is really extremely valuable, because if we don't do the plan and we just keep willy-nilly putting in graves, or we allow the highway to start just willy-nilly taking land out, we're going to compromise, our ability to use the cemetery, or perhaps even undermine what's already been used. So, just avoiding not doing a plan, it's not only costing us more money to do that, it's also, potentially creating, damage to, to the asset that we have. So, I'm really in favor of getting the plan done. I think there's a lot of advantage, just like Alan said.
I'd like to follow up to what Doug said. This actually is a group that works on cemeteries, primarily cemeteries only. They would do a full study on what Templeton's rate of death is, what your burial rates are, cremation versus full burial casket, in order to design you a cemetery that's going to last you for as much as it can last you, and get as much out of that property as you can get. So it's not just they don't come in and look at it and measure it and say, this is what you need to do. They do a full study. So I'd like you to look at it close. It includes permitting for conservation, permitting through the Board of Health, permitting through Mass General Law, Chapter 114. It covers everything that cemetery needs in order to complete that cemetery and get you the biggest life, the longest life that it can for you. And like I said, the natural assets that are underneath that cemetery in the area that hasn't been expanded are pretty high. I wouldn't factor in a guess, I'm not an expert, but it's up there. There's quite a bit of value to it. So I think it's something we should really talk about. So that's why I brought that in. The second item is just a rundown of what the Cemetery and Parks Department does, the services we provide, the parks, playgrounds, commons, all the properties that we maintain. It gives you a rundown of what we do in the winter months. It also has in here various functions that we help out with, like your arts and crafts fair, your pumpkin festival, your engine show, your Jack Frost festival, those kinds of things. It gives you information on our 4 playgrounds in town and why they are important as far as being safety certified. Gives you my FY17 goals. I am hoping very much to finish the tomb restoration this year, and that's listed in there as well. I haven't heard from the state on the grant yet, but we're hoping any day. It talks about all of our licenses and certifications that the employees have, the experience of the employees. We only have 3 of them. It talks about some of the community service that our department has done over the years, accomplishments that the superintendent has received, awards, and it also talks about concerns that I have in the immediate future. So it's a good document to look at. It'll give you a lot of information, and it will help you make some good decisions on budgeting and what the department needs in the near future. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and I hope it's helpful for you. And that's pretty much what I have.
I would like to see the cemetery. Is anybody else interested in that?
I would be.
We made an excursion once to, just maybe so you don't have to do it with all of us, to Orange to look at their, I don't know, are you guys interested in doing that like all together?
For the cemetery?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think
So
that
that,
would
I mean,
be
we'd
good.
have to post, it's kind of like a meeting, but they're, I don't, if everybody's, I mean, it might just be easier for him to explain it to us all at the same time, so, maybe at the next meeting, Alan, I mean, cause John's not here, so we could make a
Whatever-
date
whatever's
and,
good for you
get
guys.
together with you, okay, so can
Saturday
we
morning.
do
I
that?
think
Yeah,
it's-
Like we did.
I think it's that important of an
yeah,
issue
I agree,
that I will make myself available for when you guys can do it.
next
I think
agenda.
it will be a great.
We'll
thing.
talk about a couple of dates that might be good for you, too. Okay, great. Thank you. Nice, nice write-up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do, and your whole department.
Thank you. Holly, do you have copies for
I do, yeah, the ones that you dropped off. Can I put those on the website?
Yes, absolutely.
That's really good.
Yes.
I did not get
Yeah,
this.
I would like the public to see it.
No.
I won't be doing that. It's on.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay. I think the fire department air packs, we had already talked about those.
Do we need to vote on anything, or, no, because we're gonna
No,
wait to
because
see
we
where
have
all
to
the
wait
funds
for
are
the
coming
amount.
from.
We had
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about that, and so I'm
Yeah.
gonna bypass that. Action on the personnel policy. We had received that 3 weeks ago. Has everybody had an opportunity to review that? Yes, John, Doug? Does anybody have any questions or concerns, or, I don't,
I just have a couple of items.
yep.
Okay.
Just housekeeping. I think we need to change human resources coordinator throughout the document to human resources assistant.
Oh, okay, I hadn't even noticed that. Yeah,
Also, on page 10, there's a reference to the MEMA director. We don't have a MEMA director. That's Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. we have an emergency
Under what section
management.
is that?
Yes. Yes, he's the emergency management director, so we need to change that as well in the final copy.
Okay.
Page 10 at the left-hand bottom.
It's on page 9 on the actual legal clean copy,
Okay.
so that needs to be taken out.
I thought I had another,
That's the town's
yes.
emergency management.
Yes, also there's a reference to the senior administrative assistant on page 12. This is the marked up document that needs to be changed.
Okay.
I also think that we might want to eliminate some of the language on page 27, Employee Assistance Program. This is a document for policies and procedures for town employees. The sentence starts out, "The challenges you face can overwhelm you." I don't know that that's appropriate for policies and procedures. And it seems to me that there's, what we need to do is to have the standard for EAP there and not.
We didn't make that up.
No, I know, yeah, I know.
We
I
took
just-
it off the website.
I know, yeah, it came off there, yeah, but I'm not sure that that's appropriate for policies and procedures manual, just.
The lawyer didn't feel like that needed to be changed, because he
No, he
changed
didn't.
everything else?
No, he doesn't,
That's why I was like, well,
Also-
I mean, we took it right out of the guide.
yeah. Also, on page 33, it starts out with something called MPLA. Now, we probably know what that means. I would think the average incoming employee might not. In other words, the topic there is MPLA, which means?
Medical?
So I don't think the average employee would know what that's about either. It's Massachusetts Parental Leave Act. But,
Oh,
so I
that's
think
not
we
what
just
we
need to
call that, but-
spell that out there.
Okay.
I think that's those are the only, I mean, these are minor things, but I think we need to make it as
We're redoing it, might as well. do it.
clean as we can.
You know, I think I made a note. I think my question was, why is there no progressive discipline policy? And why did he take that completely out? Because we're at will and we can just let you go, or there was no
I
reasoning
was
behind
puzzled by that too, and I
Took
didn't
out the
have a chance to
entire
answer that.
thing, so basically we don't have anything.
And I've just checked my notes here. There's one other item that's missing, and that is the town needs a policy regarding volunteer firefighters who are working in municipal departments and are called to attend a fire.
I think there just it's just a small excerpt because it's the law. There's an actual, it just refers to the law. I thought that was already, personally, I had asked Alicia to put that in there, but it must have already gone to the attorney, so.
I think it's worth being in there because it reminds department heads of the responsibility.
Okay, so how are we going to, so instead of voting anything, we need to have these changes made, so are you,
If you're,
I'm not doing it, Alicia has access to all of that. But, I mean, do you want me to go over those changes with her, or?
well, I can do that, but if you're agreeable to what's in here, except for a couple of the housekeeping
Let's vote
things, I will check with the attorney. They sent us an eye-popping bill, by the way. I will check with the attorney to see why they took progressive
Yeah,
discipline
I'm
measures out of here,
concerned
because
about that
I don't understand it. The policy is very clear that those who are not under union contracts or personal services contracts are at-will employees. But it also says that we will use progressive discipline with at-will employees. So you just don't say, okay, you're gone. They are encouraging progressive discipline prior to any decision to terminate. So I think we need to clarify that too.
So we would have to make a motion to vote these policies subject to, I'm not comfortable with not having progressive discipline in there.
Yeah, I think we should wait to vote
I do not.
until,
I would move that we adopt the policy as presented with the changes that Bob suggested. And then we can just, we can add the progressive discipline of the firefighters later, but I think we really need to get.
We can't add progressive discipline later.
Well, yes, you can.
Immediately later? I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of a whole policy.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, if you didn't
But
get-
it's not there right now, but I'm saying we need to do that, we need to move on this now.
We needed to move on this
This
for
has
like
been
6
going
months.
on for
I
far
agree.
too long.
However, it took the town attorney, like, what, 3 months to get back to us? So no, I'm not comfortable with that. You can make whatever motion you want.
Well, but I think
It took
it's
so long.
important that we deal with this and get it in place. And we can just add Bob can check on it. We could even add it next meeting.
Did you want to make a motion? Or?
I did.
Okay. Any second? Okay, I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see where waiting 2 more weeks will make any difference.
So we have to put this on the next agenda with the updates and with the answer from the
Provided,
attorney.
yeah, provided Bob has the answers.
And it will be done before the end of the year. Okay, done. Okay, vote on flexible expending account maximum. Is
We
there-
currently have a maximum of $1,000. It was predictable that the FSA program would start slowly. It starts slowly in every community that I know of. The last time I asked about it, we had 6 people who had joined. That's about a month ago. So we'll probably get more people joining the program. This year, you've authorized the use of the FSA for childcare. The ceiling of $1,000, we might want to go to $1,200. If you have a larger family, lots of children, and you go to the doctors often, it seems like $1,000 is a substantial amount, but it isn't in terms of the co-pays and so forth and the pharmacy items that you have to purchase. So
This is the account that is allowed to go into the negative, correct?
yes.
Okay. Because we don't have like an account set up with, if there are 6 people with $6,000 in it.
But what communities do, and what we will do, if we have a new employee, let's say who starts January 1, registers for the program, uses all $1,200 or $1,000, and then decides to leave the town's employment, we will deduct from his last check the amount that is owed. So the town will not lose money here. And as you know, the other side of this coin is that these monies have to, and I think this is why some employees are reluctant to join. You have to remember that by the end of the fiscal year, the end of the calendar year, you have to spend it down your account, and any monies left over at the end of the calendar year go to the town treasury. You lose it. And there again, what communities do to make this work well for the employee is you do reminders in December. You send out reminders and make sure people know to check the account, and if they have any funds left over, go out and buy eyeglasses or something.
Right, because the account's good for the calendar year, right? Not
Good for the
fiscal
calendar year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think going to $1,200 is reasonable, because that's $100 a month. And like Bob said, if they're a family with a number of children, that will go pretty quick. And it's a really good benefit. I mean, I think it's
It is the closest thing to a free lunch that I know of.
Any other thoughts? Any motions? Any discussion? I think 1,200 is reasonable too.
So I would make a motion that we increase the ceiling for FY17 to $1,200.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any
So
questions?
if you don't have to take the whole 1,200, that's the limit as to what you can take.
That's the max.
For max.
You can say 500 if you want.
John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Board of Selectmen goals for FY17. John, do you have any?
Well, I think obviously the big thing is hiring of the town administrator to be accomplished.
Okay. Anything else? Julie?
No, I brought mine up last week, but I agree with John. Hiring a full-time town administrator should be on the top of our list.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with the town administrator also. I also think we need to come up with a plan or a better definition or an improved definition of the HR function. We need to make sure we've got the right person in that position, and we need to make sure that all of the HR-related responsibilities are with that position and not other positions. Thirdly, I think we need a standardized budget form that each department submits their budget requests on, and I'm happy to work on that. I had one other one. I have one other one, but I cannot remember what it is.
Well, I agree with the hiring of a full-time TA. And I didn't hear what you said last week. I'm sorry, Julie, I wasn't here about all the stuff that Doug said. I have spoken before about centralized purchasing and the bylaws, and hopefully we will be done with the personnel policy. I think that a step in the right directions is having a joint meeting and the entire budget process being more transparent and more easily available to the public. And I'm not sure how to accomplish that, but having that document out there, and I don't know, it was confusing this year, and I would definitely like that to be changed. I want to change a little bit makeup of the agenda and how we do follow-up. I have discussed that a little bit with John. Like, okay, so on the next agenda, we have to have such and such and such and such, but who is supposed to do what? That's just in my own head. But that's pretty much it. Moving forward with, Steve's gonna talk to us about the Channel 8 TV and the NRSD agreement. And I think those were really my things for the coming year. Good? Anything else? Okay, good.
And, one thing maybe in regards to the town administrator.
Yep.
I think that we have to come to some understanding of roles and responsibilities. What exactly is the responsibility of the town administrator in the day-to-day operation, and what is the role of the board?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Okay, thanks, John, for that. Action on town building projects we already did. Laurel View discussion. Jim Fay. Is someone supposed to come? Holly, I don't know.
Julie asked me to put it on.
Yeah, actually, he was supposed to be here tonight. I don't see him, so you might want to table that. He has concerns with the condition of the road, and I suggested that he attend a selectman meeting.
I've been speaking with another resident on that street, and I also had spoken with Ann Goby and her aide, and I received a letter back. Basically, there's really not much that we can do. They would have to get together and pool some money and basically fix their own road. I think that the private way issue is a large one. We have many of them. The roads are in complete disrepair. I feel like it's unfair to those taxpayers. And speaking from a real estate perspective, I think that I don't think that people understand enough of what's happening when they're purchasing on a private way, never mind. So I, since being on the board, have tried to bring more awareness to potential buyers, but I think that it's something that we have to look at on a higher level, both as a board, a town, and as people who buy and sell homes. So, yeah, can we just, did you want to speak to him again and ask him if he wanted to come back, or
I don't
should
think
we?
so.
Okay, because we can put it on the next agenda, or, and then the next thing is TCTV and RSD with Mr. Kessel.
Certainly. Good evening.
How are you?
Okay. A little under the weather last week myself. So you should have in your packets draft number 5 of a memorandum of understanding between TCTV and NRSD. We're not asking for any action tonight, but just to get some of your feedback, and if you want to take the next couple of weeks and look at it and give your feedback at the next meeting, that's fine. I'm also appearing Wednesday before the school committee to discuss this, and we're considering that this is near final. So this has been a culmination of at least 5 to 6 months work and meetings between myself and Dr. Hemman and people at the school, including the facilities subcommittee and curriculum and the school board, which I did a presentation for several weeks ago. And I have the school board chairman and vice chairman and myself have sat in rooms for hours fine-tuning this document to get the language right. And, there are concerns both ways to satisfy both parties, in other words. So, and their tech department has looked at this too. The big issues are in this document are the relocation of the TV station itself, which is basically a rack of equipment that you can broadcast from. And the only live broadcast locations we have are where the present station is located in the light department barn they used to house the food pantry, and the school, which is actually our hub for that. Where we are now actually overrides what the school broadcasts. So unless we want to pay Comcast a fortune to run another line somewhere else, I think our only options are stay in our present location and try to rebuild that building, which there was no support for, and I don't see the light department having a strong feeling for having us there. And I think the building's dilapidated and should come down. If you don't use it for storage, it's a shed, basically. That's what it is. So I think that this is our best option, and it gives the school something that they can build a program around. And we've talked about, I think we brought in, at one time, the iPads that they're using to tape shows with at the school, and we're building a multimedia lab with them for this, and I think it can be a great educational component. There are also access issues at the school. For instance, you can't do full public access at the school because people have to go through query checks and security. And, you may, if you open up the TV station for public access, you may have someone who you cannot deny access to the station for, but they can't pass a query check. So that's a conundrum. So what do we do with that? Well, and that's addressed in the document, certain personnel will have access to the school and that facility there, and otherwise, we may need another location, and that's why we're looking at Scout Hall as a possible location for the community. If other community organizations have meetings or get together there, or if it's used for youth groups, I think that'd be a great way to tie it all together. That's a little bit off the topic here, but those are the big issues, and part of the language evolved from, certainly if we go into a school and we're making an investment in their equipment each year, which I think we'd be glad to do to help facilitate their program, we don't want to see it die on the vine. And we've been down this road before with the school and saw some equipment that we gave them not be used. So I'm very strongly advocating to the school that we want them to encourage this program and, and fund it if necessary. Obviously, the school has budget concerns. They don't want to commit to having an instructor, even though I think they have a very good instructor there right now. I think they do want to build the program, but they, can only commit to some things. So we'll put dates in there, for instance, 2 years from the effective date of the agreement, we will do certain things with it. And that's about all I have for it. So, it's also kind of, I guess you could call it a living document. And, there are clauses in here that both parties could, revisit this at virtually any time.
And access during the summer, when school's not in session.
I have
is that-
insisted on access 24/7 unless there's an emergency. So,
That's all agreed to in here?
yeah. So I encourage you to take a close look at it, give me any feedback that you feel is necessary, and we'll go forward. And, just trying to coordinate the approvals with 3 different boards. Because we both have the Cable TV Advisory Board and this board, and, the governing bodies in here refers to the school board certainly, and the governing body right now for the TV station is the select board, with the Cable TV as advisory board in an advisory capacity. But that may change if we go to a 501c3, as has been discussed, and then you'd have a board of directors. So that's why that language is a little vague.
Does anybody have any questions? I read this already, and I do have a couple, Steve. What about the elementary school at all? Is there any forward thinking to what that may be? That's just, you don't have to, these are just my couple questions. And my other concerns are budgeting issues.
As far as the elementary school goes, I thought about that all during the process and the many meetings that we taped of the elementary school building committee, but, if we should ask them for, some sort of a live feed or some sort, but I would imagine that there would be occasional events in their cafeteria/auditorium, and we would probably just bring in a mobile unit for that.
Okay, and then there's, like I said, I'm more concerned about budgeting issues because really their budget is a town budget. NRSD will fund and provide any necessary infrastructure in construction remodeling necessary to house the station and possible studio as deemed necessary by governing bodies. And yeah, so that's just one issue.
I can address that if you like.
Sure.
So, my thinking in talking with the school about this is we don't want to be paying for the infrastructure of the school. We don't think that that's appropriate for TCTV, and we're mandated to spend the money that we have on the station, not on infrastructure or providing security systems for another building that we're in that, is owned by another entity, owned or operated by another entity. And part of the thinking with that too is with HVAC systems and air conditioning. We want cool air conditioning for our equipment certainly year round, but if that system fails, we're not gonna pay for that. The school needs to pay for that. So, I don't think any infrastructure that would be necessary to house the station would, it would be necessary anyways for the school to address. And I can say what we're looking at is housing it in the small control room off the back of the kiva that's between the hallway and the kiva.
Is there already HVAC in there?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna come to the school committee meeting, but, and then the other thing is there's a section in here about paying $30. Is that like by the students? This is for any classes, private tutoring or instruction by TCTV, shall be paid by NRSD at $30 an hour. So does that come out of, it's just
That would
budgeting
come out of
questions.
NRSD, but that was basically put in there Simply so the school would not be tempted to abuse the privilege of having people there, and then you're basically teaching their students what they should be teaching.
Okay, so you're
them.
not, okay. Those are all my questions for now. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Action on all committee meeting. This was discussed last time, I'm kind of in the dark.
It was.
Yeah, so last time we talked about having, Holly can probably say too.
Yeah, we talked about having it in September, so I set it up for September 20th. Tuesday? September 20th at 6 PM
And where are we having this?
at the auditorium at Narragansett.
The submarine's pinging you.
Yeah. Thought I got turned on.
Periscope up.
And it's 6 PM.
At 6 PM, so. That's gonna be at the, okay, South, okay. Is that all we needed on that as an update, is just the date?
Yes.
Okay, and then action on joint Board of Selectmen and Advisory Committee meeting?
That one we had decided on either July 12th or 19th. So I reserved the 19th at 6:30.
And where?
Kiva? Is
At
that
the Kiva, yes.
At the Kiva?
At 6:30. And I need to do a memo to the advisory board. I just wanted some details from the board as to what they want me to put in the memo. And I can draft that and send it to you to, get out now.
That would be July, you said the 19th?
July 19th.
Okay, so, I can say I'm not sure I will be here, but, I'll be on vacation. And that will be in the Kiva, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to, at
Yeah,
what?
On the 12th, Doug, you're away that week, right?
Right, I'm out of town the week of the 12th.
12th. I know
July
it's not on my
19th at
calendar,
what
that's why
time?
I put it to the 19th.
It's okay.
The 19th at 6:30 in the
6:30.
Kiva.
Okay, thanks. And what do we need to add? I thought we were going to be going over the budget. Yes? No?
Yeah,
That's basically what.
Okay, I wasn't here,
I
so.
think that's pretty much what John
Basic,
wants to
alright,
do.
I'll
He
do
just
the
wants
basic
everyone
number.
to sit in the same room and kind
The
of chat it out.
budget for this
Make sure
last,
everybody's
for
on
this
this-
fiscal year.
Everybody's on the
Right,
same
FY.
page, correct.
Then I guess we would want to make sure that everyone has all the right information, or same information. Yeah. Right. Any questions? Yeah.
Excuse me, what was the date of the all-department meeting?
the all committee meeting is September 20th, it's a Tuesday, in the auditorium at 6 PM.
Thank you.
Any questions from
What
them?
was the date again on the advisory? Was it July?
July 19th at 6:30 in the Kiva.
And if you and Jeff can let people on the advisory board just kind of know about it informally, I'm gonna send a memo as well, but if they wanna reserve the date.
Okay, seeing no other discussion. Old business, any updates? Questions? I do have one. In going through some of my past stuff, we had tabled something from Bubba's Market liquor license. What is up with that? Are we just not gonna take any action on that, or? We had discussed, because they're not using their license, or did we just, I don't know, I have it in my follow-up.
I'm gonna have to make a note and look that one up.
Okay,
Don't remember.
follow up on that. And that was really just old business.
Did we do the
updates.
fire department air pack then?
We didn't.
Tabled it.
We tabled that because we're
We need
not
a
sure.
specific amount and where
Yeah,
it's coming
that's
from.
been tabled.
Transfers from multiple accounts.
Yeah. Any other old business? No? Okay. Any new business?
Dave Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Last week I had asked for a release or a vote of the board to release the confidential attorney-client privileged lawyer's opinion on the election issue. I think Bob knows what I'm talking about. And I think all that he needs is an okay from the board to release it. I don't think he's against releasing it. He just pretty much needs yours.
Is that something that we need to discuss in executive session first?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to take that under advisement, Dave, and we will release. Okay. Any other new business? I do have a couple of things that need to be added to the next agenda. Board of Selectmen, policy and procedure. I think I had sent that out, but I didn't get a response, so I'm asking to add it and that everybody review it and come with suggestions and/or changes, because I think there are changes that need to be made. And at the next meeting, the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee needs to come and give us an update, and I will get you some exact stuff from Tim Alex. Anybody else have anything? Okay. And any selectmen's comments? Tom?
I just want to add one thing, going back to Alan's presentation, and I think Doug kind of hit it on the mark too. We went 40,000 to 65,000. That $25,000 is the cost of doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think I asked for that to be on the next agenda so that we could choose a meeting date when John is here to like get together with him and go over all that. And then, I mean, that's part of the capital improvement plan, and they haven't really been able to they haven't had a quorum to meet, so.
Well, no, but
right?
the point I'm trying to
I
make
get it.
is
Doing
that,
nothing makes, yeah.
doing nothing
Costs
when
money.
something needs to be done is not cost effective.
Okay,
I think we're all in agreement on that.
okay. Any others, comments? No? Okay.
Selectmen's comments, I got one.
Yeah.
July 9th on the Common, the Friends of the Templeton Elders is doing the mac and cheese event. Last year's mac and cheese event was very successful, even though it rained. There was a lot of people. I think everybody had a good time. There was plenty of games for the kids to do, and I think this year's event's going to be even better. So hopefully everybody can come on July 9th to the Common, have some mac and cheese.
Awesome. Okay. Well, at this time, we're going to vote to go into executive session, and we will not reconvene in open session. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21.2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and as the acting chair, I so declare.
Second?
I guess. The
Yeah.
first, move.
So
So
moved.
Wait. Thank you for a second. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you all for coming.